In today's video, I am talking about my heart failure journey and folding some laundry. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Live, Laugh, Love with Jen. I thought that it was an important time to share my story with you guys about how I became a heart warrior, and I'm going to do that while I fold some laundry. My main purpose in having this channel is to help others in some way, and I feel like by sharing this particular journey that I had, that hopefully I can help someone who might be suffering from a chronic illness, someone who maybe has heart disease, someone who is suffering maybe from a mental illness, or from just somebody who needs to hear a message of hope and inspiration. This is a difficult message for me to share because I do have to revisit some things, but I do want to share with you, and my hope is to inspire you and to shine a light that will help guide you to be the best you that you can be, despite any circumstances that you might have or any obstacles that are in your way. And I love to keep things real on my channel, so I will be as real as possible. So I'm going to grab my first little load of laundry. I got kind of behind on laundry. So this video actually starts in 2020. In the year 2020, I caught a virus, and I could not get over the virus. And my immune system kind of went into what I would consider a panic attack. It went into fight or flight mode. It did not know what to do with this virus. It was like, what have you done to me? I've been a good immune system. What in the world do I do? And my immune system just did not know how to handle the virus. And as it was fighting it, and I was running fevers, and I was fighting, the virus was like, I'm gonna even make you more anxious, and I'm going to use my little virus powers and give you blood clots. So after fighting this virus for a lengthy amount of time, I developed a total of 7 blood clots. I cannot remember how many were in what areas. I do know I had at least one in my arm, lungs, stomach, and eventually one traveled to my heart. This is what ended up putting me into the hospital. So I go to the hospital and I'm not doing well at all. I can barely breathe, and they find the blood clots. And so their thinking is that I must have cancer or something really wrong. And they could not find cancer, but they did check out my heart, as one of the blood clots had traveled to my heart, and they did find that the blood clot had damaged my heart, which really stinks that that happened, but that is what it is. So the blood clot traveled to my heart, and it damaged my heart. When they went to do some measurements and some MRIs of my heart, they found that my heart was only functioning at 10% at that time. A normal range of a functioning heart is called an EF, which is the ejection fraction. A normal ejection fraction is between 50 and 70%. Again, I was at 10%. So normal is 50 to 70, borderline is 41 to 49, and anything under that is a place you don't want to be. So you don't really want to be under 40%. And like I said, I was functioning at 10%. So this was This was hard for me to understand. I don't have a lot of memories of this, but I remember thinking that this terrible thing had happened to my heart, and that what had happened to my heart was ultimately caused by a virus that caused a blood clot. So you can do all the things, you can exercise, you can eat healthy, you can do all the things, and you can still end up with heart disease. You can have, like, the heart disease is not even hereditary in my family. You can still end up with heart disease. I want to talk about that. I want to come back to that in a minute. So basically, I don't remember a lot about that. I do know that whenever I was in the hospital, because my heart was stretched out and elongated, I had developed something called prolonged QT, which puts you at a greater risk for your heart getting out of rhythm, that kind of thing. And at one point, I was taking some kind of antibiotic, and the prolonged QT sent me into cardiac arrest. I do not know the exact time I was out. It was a lengthy time to be out. I was administered CPR because I was in the hospital, and I was put on a ventilator. I could not be moved because I was not stable. Every time they would try to move me, my heart would try to stop again. They finally got me stable enough to move me to another hospital, and I ended up having another event or cardiac arrest there. They did make my body a colder temperature to try to preserve as much as they could. Basically, everyone thought that I was not going to pull through. Statistically, that was not going to happen. If I did pull through, statistically, I was not going to be the same person. So they did not know if I did pull through how I was going to function. Would I be like a vegetable? Would I have memories? Would I be able to do all the things that I could do beforehand? And so many people in the community and around, they were praying for me. And I really feel like those prayers, were heard, and God gave me, and I was given a second chance that very few people in life are given. I was given the second chance to have a life. I was given the second chance to live. I should not be here. I should not be videoing this. I should not be struggling with the words to tell you guys about this, because honestly, I should not be sitting here, but I am. And I had to go through this whole thing where I had to learn to walk again, and I had to learn to do things again. But the only thing cognitively, or I would not even call it cognitively, that I could say, the only thing that I can see that being out for that long caused me, the only issue is my eyesight. My eyesight is terrible now. One of the first things that I remember saying is, why can't I see? So cognitively, everything was fine. My memory was great. I remember waking up and I was talking about taking ballet when I was little. I was talking about all kinds of things. And so I'm just really blessed to be here. And I want you to know, with whatever you're going through, not to give up and to keep fighting. And I kept fighting to take those steps. It was so hard. I would get so angry. I would try to walk like 5 steps and my legs would give out on me, and I would feel so frustrated. And there were so many times that I just wanted to give up, and so many times that I wanted to say, why me? Why did this happen to me? And I just kept going and going and going and fighting and fighting. I was eventually released from the hospital, and I went to have another test to see how well my heart was functioning at this particular time. And my heart was functioning at 20%. Still, that's below where it should be. It's better than the 10%, but it's not good. And I was discouraged about that. So I started reading things about heart failure, which is what they diagnose this with. I started reading things online and trying to join support groups, and the more I read and the more groups that I joined, the more discouraged I became, because everyone was talking about how it's basically something you don't come back from, and how once your heart has stretched out, it doesn't repair itself. And I was just getting lots of negative energy and there was just lots of negative talk. And it put me kind of in a dark place in my healing. And I sat around and just thought, when is the day that I'm going to die? Because it's going to be coming up soon. I even went through times where I was like, why didn't I just go then? And it would already be a done deal, because now I've got to figure out when it's going to happen. However, I went back to get another heart function test in May of 2021, and my heart had returned to its original shape and size. It was functioning at 45%. So it went up that much. And I started to see my first little glimpse of hope, like maybe this is not going to take over my life. And I started to feel a little better, and I started trying to do more and more things. Because when some people develop heart failure, it's a gradual over time thing. So they go through this thing where they're maybe out of breath for a while, or they can't do activities they used to do. But mine was acute. It happened quickly. So I had no idea kind of what to expect or what I was supposed to do. And I did not retain fluid, so I did not have this whole fluid issue that some people do have. So I had nothing to compare it to. So I would read up on how to manage or how to deal with the diagnosis that I was given, and it just didn't seem to apply to me. And I just became more and more frustrated. And I looked all over the internet, all over places for something positive, like some kind of light, something that I could see and have hope, like a glimpse of hope. And I just could not find that, which is why I decided to make this video. Because I am going to fast forward to last year. Last year, when I had my heart function tested, it was at 50%. If you remember, 50% is in the normal range. My heart still is normal shape and size. It's functioning at 50%, and I am off of almost all of my medicines except for 2 heart pills, and the 2 heart pills that I take that help my heart to function a little bit better, I'm taking very low doses of it, and that has helped me tremendously. It's helped with the dizziness. I have naturally lower blood pressure anyway, so whenever I was on all this medicine, it was really lowering my blood pressure, and I would stand up and the whole world would spin. So I started to notice a big change when I took medicines out and started to cut back on my other medicines in the way that I was feeling better. But I guess the main thing that I want to say about my story, and I know that it was kind of all over the place, because as I talk about this, and before I came on to talk about it, I just prayed that I would say what somebody needed. I just wanted to resonate with one person. I just wanted one person to touch one person's life. And, my story is all over the place, and it's taken 2.5 years for things to kind of fall into place, to figure out what happened in what order and how I got into the shape that I was getting. And it's taken this long to heal, and I am still in the healing process. A lot of it, yes, is more mental. I do have PT, I do have post-traumatic stress syndrome. I do have a lot of post-traumatic stress from my time alone in the hospital, because it was whenever they were not allowing visitors in the hospital. I have that from a defibrillator malfunction that I had. I have a lot of fear, a lot of anxieties. I have a lot of suppressed memories that sometimes come back. So I would say that 98% of what I'm still working through and going through is all mental. And the rest of everything else, I feel fine. I feel like myself. I am back to walking. I am up to walking a mile a day, sometimes a little more. I do stay in the same area. I walk in my little cul-de-sac every day. But I feel much better. I have so much more energy, and that's just kind of my story of how I started. That's just kind of my journey that I've had so far. But what I really kind of want to focus this on, and again, I know I've been all over the place, is I want to focus on the fact that about heart disease. I want to focus on heart disease itself. I used to volunteer for the American Heart Association. I used to volunteer for our events that we would have each year in our community. And I always looked at heart disease as something that was hereditary, or something that someone maybe that are like hereditary, or something that a person, or something that was hereditary, or something that someone brought on themselves. Not intentionally, but maybe they ate the wrong things, or they had substance abuse, that kind of thing. That is how I looked at heart disease. And that is how a big, huge chunk of our population looks at heart disease. And that is not the case, as my experience demonstrates clearly. I developed heart disease. My heart almost completely stopped functioning because I got sick. I got a virus. I could have done all the right things. I mean, it would not have mattered. I got this virus, and the virus ultimately ended up attacking my heart. So I think that when you hear of someone having heart disease, you need to have an open mind. There are so many different ways that you can develop heart disease. That does not mean that a person is overweight or that they are lazy. And sometimes that stigma gets put on people whenever they have heart disease. Like, what did they do to themselves that caused this heart disease? And that is so not the case. I've met so many people that went into heart failure whenever they were pregnant with a child. I've met people who went into heart failure as a genetic issue because their grandfather did, and their grandmother did, and their father did. I've met people who have gone into heart failure because they've had chemotherapy to fight a cancer. I've met people who have gone into heart failure like me because a virus came in and attacked their heart. So it doesn't have to do, so heart health is not all about exercise and healthy eating. But yes, you should be doing that because you should want to keep your heart as healthy as possible. But I think it's important that we educate people and that people know that there are other ways that you get heart disease. It's not all about neglect or about what might happen to be in your family genetics. There are so many other components to that. The second thing that I want to draw attention to is with any chronic illness, you can still, do not let it define who you are. And for a while, whenever I was diagnosed with the term heart failure, which I asked them to call it heart weakness, because to me failure means like, you know, something's failing and that's not a good thing. But when I started reading up on it, I started being like, oh my goodness, I can't do anything anymore. I can't, like I shouldn't be doing all this stuff, but yet I can. I'm capable of doing whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. And we're all individuals. And so do not let yourself be defined by a label. whether that is if you've been diagnosed with panic disorder, or you've been diagnosed with diabetes, or whatever you may have been diagnosed with, or whatever you may struggle with. That does not define you or who you are. And do not let it set limitations on what you can or can't do. And that is a trap that I fell into. And sometimes we fall into that negative pit, especially with social media and all the things that we can read and research, and they tell us the worst case scenarios sometimes. And so we fall into this way of thinking that we're somehow defined by this illness, when in fact we're not defined by this illness, and we're all individuals. So the way that we react to illnesses are completely different. For example, I can go, if I needed to right now, I could go run down the block, and that would be fine. There are people who have the same diagnosis that I have, and if they needed to run across their house, they could not. But everybody's an individual, and everybody I don't know. I guess I just want you to walk away knowing that you are not defined by a diagnosis, and knowing that, sometimes bad things happen to good people, and that is part of living on this earth. It's part of the learning process. It's just part of life. And as much as it stinks, that's just the way it is. I mean, I didn't ask for this. I was perfectly healthy one day and woke up and wasn't perfectly healthy anymore. And I went for a long time thinking this is not fair. Do I still think it's fair? No. But I don't want to be a victim. And so I want to make the most of what I can, and I want to encourage others. And I do not want you to take any kind of label that you may have. People love labels. I don't want you to take any kind of label and internalize it and make yourself feel like you need to feel a certain way, or you need to act a certain way because of a diagnosis. And then the third thing that I want to say is that I think the third point that I want to make is that life can change in a blink of an eye. It can literally change in an instant. It can change for any of us. No one is immune to life changing like that. Things can happen quickly. And that means, and even though I did not know it whenever I made this channel, that means every single day when you wake up, you need to feel blessed to wake up, and you need to live that day. You need to laugh as much as you can, and you need to love, and you need to love with all your heart. And you do not need to worry about what's going to happen tomorrow, but enjoy the day of today. And I think that's kind of one of my main points that I want. And I want you to also know that there is hope. There is hope. I was able to somehow come from this barely functioning heart to a normal range with very little medication. Maybe one day I'll be off medication completely. That's my hope, because I do have this naturally low blood pressure. I would love to be off my medicines completely. Will I ever stop taking blood thinners? Honestly, probably not. As long as they will let me stay on blood thinners, I plan to stay on blood thinners, because those blood clots scared me, and the damage that they did. So I just want you to take away from this that you are a warrior with whatever you're fighting, whether it's something that people can see or something that people can't see, and just to love everybody, just to live each day, just to be the best you that you can be, and to bring light into this world in any way that you possibly can. And I've always just felt, this calling to teach. I was born to teach. I taught in the classroom for years. And I just want to help teach you to live the best life that you can live. And I want you to know that if you have a diagnosis that has the word failure in it, or if you have a diagnosis that's scary, it's okay. And you can get through this. And I would love for you to be able to turn on my channel, and even if you're having a low day, to say, if Jen can do this, I can do this as well. So thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you did get I hope that something I said did resonate with you. Again, I did not plan out anything I was going to say. I just spoke from my heart, and sometimes that gets a little jumbled when you do that, but I think speaking from the heart is the best way to go. And just remember, very important, to remember to take time to live, laugh, and love every day. And I would so love to have you in my YouTube family. And if you are new, I would love for you to introduce yourself in the comments, because I really want to get to know you. I love getting to know my YouTube family, and I love how we're growing, and we're growing together. And I just want to thank you guys for giving me some time to listen and helping me to get caught up on some of my laundry. And I know that some of you guys like laundry folding, so I will fold a couple more pieces, I guess. And let's see. So what I'll do now is what I'll do, since I know a lot of you guys like the laundry motivation, is I will speed it up, and I will put on some music, and I will finish folding this basket of laundry, and then I'll probably tell you to live, laugh, and love again, and do all that stuff.
I get so caught up in the middle, thinking of drowning in those blue eyes. I'm losing sight 'cause I am falling. I'm so deep down, and it's not a lie that I die. I can't hide what this is. Yeah, I keep drowning in those blue eyes, and you can tell me all of your lies. I will put out all of the fire if it gets too dark. I'll be your light. Be your light. I'll be your light. If it gets too dark, I'll be your light. Be your light. I'll be your light. If it gets too dark, yeah, I can carry all that you've got. Two heavy hearts is not a lot. I will put out all of the fire. We stumble and fall, and it's not a lie that I die. I can't hide what this is.
So now I'm going to get busy putting these clothes away, and then I'm going to fold the next basket of clothing, but I'm totally not going to show you guys that. But if you stayed until the end, I just want you to know, if you ever need anything, you can reach out to me. You can always private message me on Instagram or Facebook, both at LiveLaughLoveWithJen. And please comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And just remember to shine your light. And just remember, take time to live, laugh, and love today. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.